taking a close look at where state pension money is invested. I'm Jill Horner. This is Comcast Newsmakers. With me this hour is Pennsylvania State Representative Babette Josephs. Thanks for being with us.
My pleasure.
Now, we're talking about an idea that you've been working on for about 6 years at this point, but give us an idea as to why it was important to really scrutinize where money was being invested when it came to the Pennsylvania pension system.
Well, it's also the Treasury funds. And what we were trying to do was make sure that we were not supporting companies that helped genocide, that aided in genocide, or aided in terrorism. And that was the point of divesting. We have billions and billions of dollars in these funds, and nobody really wanted us to be aiding these countries that are just awful in what they do.
So how does this legislation actually work to divest the state from supporting companies that in turn invest in Sudan, in Iran?
And first of all, let me clarify a little bit. Some companies, if they're building something that's good or working something that's good for the people, we don't want to divest from that. If there's a company building a hospital, we're going to let them do that. It's the military and energy sectors that we're talking about. And we're going to require the people who run these funds and the Treasury Fund to identify, are they putting money into Company X that helps the military in one of these two terrible countries? And if that's the case, then we're going to go through a whole procedure where we ask the company to speak to the government, we ask them to get out of these kinds of investments, and after 3 years, if they don't do that, we can divest.
Was this something that was actually happening, or is this legislation more of a precautionary measure?
Well, actually, the funds, many funds, are doing this voluntarily. And I believe the pension funds and the Treasury have really started to look very carefully, scrutinize their investments. But I wanted to put it in law so that it is permanent. Who knows what will happen in some future administration?
And this is something that a number of other states have taken up as an issue.
We will be, when it goes to the governor, when he signs it, we'll be the 29th state. So there's and not only states, but universities and colleges have withdrawn their funds, their investments from these kinds of companies. A lot of church groups have done the same thing. So one entity after another, it does not hurt the funds.
So if companies don't go along with what the state is saying and they don't divest the funds after a 3-year period, does the state walk away from those investments?
Well, it's the state investing, let's say, in XYZ Corporation, which is behaving badly. And if they don't reform their behavior, then the state just pulls its money out. What we've discovered when we've studied the other states and some of these religious groups and universities is that the funds do better. The funds do better if they're not invested in these companies.
Can it become complicated, though, because I'm thinking of many companies that are multinational. It's hard to find out where the money actually is. They're so diversified. Does that then become a challenge with this legislation?
Well, we tried to simplify it. We didn't. Complicated and sophisticated financial instruments aren't really counted in this. The pension funds pretty much know, one hopes, where they put their money, and they're to take it out of companies that are moving forward, not denouncing genocide, not doing anything about why should Americans, why should we invest in companies that are helping another country bring terrorist acts against us? No, we're not going to do that anymore.
And this legislation is specifically related to military and energy sectors in Sudan and Iran. But would you have a hope that this would go beyond that and introduce additional legislation for additional countries?
Oh, absolutely, if they become the same kind of problem. And in the past, we've done this against South Africa and Ireland as well.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We've been talking with Babette Josephs. I'm Jill Horner.